I can't get this music to stop playing. Good morning to those of you near us here in Boston, and good afternoon and good evening to those in other places. I am Emma Emmer. I'm Director of Strategic Programs here at Bentley, and I am thrilled to welcome you to this conversation about our MBA. I'm joined here by three far more interesting people than me. And so I would love to get a chance for them to introduce themselves to you, tell you a little bit about why they're here. And then we'll dive into what I think is going to be a really interesting conversation about Bentley's MBA. What is an MBA? Why are we doing it differently? And why should you consider joining us here on campus? And so with that, Iris, I would love for you to take a moment to introduce yourself.
Thanks, Emma, and welcome everybody to this session. So I'm Iris Bergero. I'm a professor in the management department, and I'm also the director of the MBA program, and have been leading it and launching some exciting new programs in it, and also taking care of our legacy programs. So really excited to be spending some time introducing more nuanced aspects of it to you today.
Wonderful. And Wanma, I'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Juanma. I'm a Bentley alum MBA, and excited to talk to you all about the student perspective of the MBA program.
Wonderful. And Sean, if you don't mind introducing yourself too.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sean Johnson. I'm one of the current assistant directors of graduate admissions here at Bentley. I work mostly with the full-time MBA students, and I'm thrilled to be a part of today's session.
Awesome. Well, as I said, I'm hoping we mostly hear from Wanma and Iris about the program. But before diving in, I just want to center us in some of the things that I think make Bentley's MBA distinctive and that I want you to be listening for as we have our conversation today. So first and foremost, we are always innovating here at Bentley. As Iris said, even within the MBA, we're launching new programs, new majors, new tracks, but even the fundamental work that we're doing is ensuring that we're graduating business leaders who are able to lead today in a business environment that looks different than, 5, 10, 15 years ago. And so our curriculum is really focused on ensuring that you have the fundamentals of business, but layering on top different specializations, different ways that you can customize your degree to ensure you're ready to take on the career path you're looking for. Another thing that's distinctive about Bentley, and Iris, I know will talk a lot about this because we always do when she and I are in a room talking about Bentley, is Bentley really focuses on what we call good business. What I mean by that is we know that business leaders work in a broader global context. We are faced with ethical challenges. And so Bentley really ensures that we're bringing in the perspectives of a number of disciplines to ensure we're graduating business leaders that want to do good. And so are not just ready to be innovative, which is incredibly important and technologically savvy and all those kinds of things, but also maybe you're caring about sustainability or are caring about, our global perspective. The other thing we're going to spend a lot of time talking about, and Wanma's going to bring a personal experience to this for us, is how our MBA program launches folks' careers. Wanma has a really interesting career path, and I'm curious for us all to learn more about why he chose to do an MBA at the moment that he did and how that's launched his career in a really unique and viable way. And so with that, Iris, I would love to start with you because I think I want to root us. In some ways, the MBA, one of the most ubiquitous degrees. And I think sometimes people don't quite understand what it's meant to teach you. And so I would love for you to root us in our philosophy here at Bentley on what is an MBA.
Sure, absolutely. And you're absolutely right. It is the most common of the graduate level programs, but it is also the least understood in terms of just what do you get out of an MBA, right? And so I have an MBA, and I always say it's the degree that helps you understand how an entire organization operates and your place within it. And then how to really affect positive change, regardless of your industry, what hierarchical level you're at, or what functional area you're in. One of our students pointed out that there are lots of decisions that are made by senior leadership without the middle level folks really understanding why, and not necessarily in line with what's actually happening at the lower levels, right? And she learned how to assess those decisions and how she could influence those decisions so that the outcome was better overall. So an MBA really helps you understand the whole organization. Bentley is unique in that we are a university within a business school, and that might sound odd, but we have a full arts and sciences division of departments and curriculum and faculty, as well as the business side, but all we graduate are business students. So what we can do, in this world of flux and uncertainty and ambiguity and lots of change and tension, we are really able to bring voice that comes from different disciplines. So for instance, we have the country's, if not the world's, oldest center for business ethics in a business school. And we bring that voice, that perspective into our business classes. And so we can really integrate those holistic, social, people-based perspectives into the business disciplines that allow an organization to function and perform effectively.
Absolutely. I'm wondering, Wanma, tell us a little bit, based on what Iris is saying, of what an MBA is and what you gain from it. Give us a little bit of a sense of why did you choose to do the MBA at the moment of your career that you did? And tell us, is Iris giving a fair assessment of what an MBA opens up for you, particularly this kind of understanding of how an organization works and makes decisions?
Yeah, definitely. So just some background. Before going to Bentley, I had an undergrad in liberal arts. So I studied arts and business at a very different institution than Bentley. I went off to start working in diversity, equity, and inclusion in the higher ed space. And I launched my own business. I started doing that. And I knew a lot about business, but obviously not at the caliber at which an institution teaches you. So I really wanted to use that MBA to help me build that business muscle, but also to help me pivot in the world and in my career path. I knew that I wanted to do good business, and that's kind of one of the big points for Bentley. And if you look at other institutions, they're all teaching you business, but you might not feel as great about it. So I really wanted to use that. And I had a lot of friends that actually did their undergrads at Bentley and loved it. So that was kind of how I got guided towards the Bentley MBA.
That's super helpful. And I think your point is well made that there's lots of places offering MBAs and there are some kind of definitional similarities between curricula, but if you go under the hood, you see some major differences. And so, Iris, I would love to talk a little bit about the Bentley curriculum, and I'm going to throw it on the screen just so we have a reference, and talk a little bit about the places where we're building business language, the places where folks can specialize. Iris, you're going to see I have a mashup here of our MBA and our STEM MBA offerings. And so would love to talk a little bit about how our students can find the things that they find interesting within the MBA and build their skills in those specific places that they believe would benefit their career kind of path.
Absolutely, yeah. So we talk about our curriculum in three buckets or three types of courses. One of the first one's the foundations. We understand that not everybody, Wanma as an example, comes from a really traditional business undergrad degree or experience, or it may have been longer than 5 years since you've done it. And so one of the first things we want to do is ensure that everybody can actually succeed through the program and give everybody the language and the fundamentals of the business courses that you're going to be taking. And so the foundations, the 5 foundation courses provide those. If you have a strong undergraduate business degree or you have strong work experience, you can waive out of these. But this is basically foundation building for the program. Then you get into the actual meat of the program, and here there are two types of courses. One is the core. An MBA is a professional degree, and there are certain things that you need to know coming out of that degree. And so these are the core courses. So information technology, process management, leadership, responsible leadership, strategy, how operations work and what the value chain is, and then making sure that you don't land your corporation into the court system. So we teach law, ethics, and social responsibility. So everybody takes those courses. And then you get to tailor the degree to your specific interests. And this is where the majors and the concentrations come in. And so if you are interested in STEM-based MBA, there are majors that you would pick that will get you that STEM designation. If you are interested in marketing or leadership, you can take a concentration in those, or you can bundle your selection together in a way that suits your specific interests, right? Or either to dive deeper into something that's going to support your career and your aspirations, or to expand yourself and pick something that you know nothing about and really stretch your horizons and try out something new, right? And so you have opportunities to ensure that you get the core of what you need for your business degree, and then you get to tailor specific to your interests and your career aspirations.
Absolutely. And Wanma, I'm wondering, right? There's this idea of, as Iris is saying, building business language. So knowing how a business functions and then tailoring your degree. Give us a sense of how you navigated that. Tell us about that building of your business understanding, but then also how did you go about tailoring your choices in your electives or concentrations or majors?
Yeah, definitely. So as Iris hinted to, I had a very different kind of than the normal Bentley MBA, but these classes really did help me set an understanding that then traveled through into every other class I did. So I really appreciated having those classes, and it really helped all of us get on the same page so that when we were further into the program, it was easier for everyone. I decided that I enjoyed communications and marketing the most. So I decided that while I was at Bentley, I would take most of those classes, but I also did want to take classes outside of those concentrations to kind of expand my horizons, as Iris was saying. But I do think that there's also a lot of learning to happen outside of the classroom as well, learning from your classmates, but also from all of the activities happening on campus.
That makes a lot of sense. I'm curious if before we jump to outside of the classroom, which honestly, as you said, is equally important to inside of the classroom. Sorry, Iris, earmuffs. But I'm curious, Wama, can you take us into an example class? Tell us about an experience you had in the classroom that was particularly meaningful to you, that perhaps has influenced you as you've now moved into your new role, or something that was particularly experiential that you found meaningful in your time at Bentley?
Yeah, so I took a class with Professor Highgard. She she teaches online marketing. And actually, I'm in a rotational program right now in a financial services firm, and I'm in the online marketing team. So I've been pulling a lot from that class recently. But one of the main things she teaches about, she is a CEO of her own agency, that you have to learn everything, you have to know everything, but when you're taking something up to an executive, you need to give them the shortened version. So a lot of what she did was like, you need to do this project and it's the 20-page deck and you're going to talk about the X and Y thing, but you also need to tell it to me in 30 seconds. So learning how to pivot from all of this learning that you've done and everything that you've put into this research, and being able to take it to an executive and tell them, this is what we found, and this is what I suggest you do. And that has helped me a lot right now in the projects I'm working on in my rotational program, because I'm working with all the way up to our chief analytics officers, and being able to take my suggestions to them so they can make good decisions in very short periods of time has really helped me a lot.
One, I love that you bring this up because it is actually, I would say, a real feature of Bentley's program across all of the majors and coursework is not only being able to do the work, but being able to communicate the work. And so something that I think about a lot, because I, like Iris, look at our programs comprehensively, is we look at what employers want, what skills they're looking for from business graduates. And so there was a survey of a lot of employers that was done by GMAC. And what they showed was they basically asked employers what skills are important right now and what skills are going to be important in 5 years as you go to employ people. And what's interesting is things like problem solving, communication, strategic thinking, always at the top of the list, even as things like understanding how to use AI or being able to innovate start to skyrocket up the list. They're not taking over those first couple of spots that are about strategic thinking and communication. And I think something that's really important here at Bentley, and you're describing a specific instance for you where this came out, but I would say, and Iris, I'm curious your reaction to this, across our full curriculum, is a focus on those human durable skills paired with whatever analytical skills, strategic thinking, emerging technology, use of AI, what have you, in order to make humans that can communicate what they're doing. And I would say Bentley is wildly focused on that. And that, Iris, I would say, is similarly a part of this kind of business university or a university within a business school, is that all of our folks, even when you talk to our mathematicians that are teaching some of our analytics courses, they're business minded and want to make sure you're able to communicate what you do. There's a lot of focus in projects on, okay, do the analysis, and this time present it as though you're presenting to a technical audience, or this time present it as though you're presenting to someone who's never seen math before in their life. And I think that's something that we're really thinking about here at Bentley. And so I don't know, Iris, if you have a reaction to that, but I love Wanma's story from that perspective.
I do have a reaction from a general and a very specific. In general, I've been doing work in competency development and employee competencies for over 25 years. And you're absolutely right, Emma. The which is more important out of the top 5 maybe moves up and down a little bit, but very basically, it has never changed. That the skills that are really important are first, how you manage yourself, how you purport yourself, how you show up for work, how you communicate with others, how you can actually engage and make yourself clear, but then also hear others. And Wanma, I love your example of being able to be succinct. I'm trying to do that now, and I'm going to fail at it. But those are really base for then how do you manage people and tasks within the organization, and then how do you mobilize innovation and change in a rapidly ambiguous and fluctuating environment, right? So those are absolutely clear. But I want to give a specific example of how this plays out. Most of what I teach is in global management and managing across cultures. And I'm teaching a course right now, a graduate course, and I have a module in there around language, not just do you speak another language, but how are languages structured and what's the impact of that on business interactions. And I brought in a faculty member in our modern languages department on the arts and sciences side. And she did a module on accents and the bias that is created in work settings in both hiring and promotions and just interactions based on accents that we have from birth. And her and I had this great conversation about how that then plays out throughout the organization and throughout the interactions that happen at any level within the organization. And those are the perspectives that we can bring into the classroom here. That will then lead on to a conversation around migration and managing a global talent pool, right? So it's really cool, the things that we can do here.
It is cool. And Iris, I'm going to ask you to talk about one other cool curricular feature before we talk a little bit about outside of the classroom, which is our global business experiences. And I know that's something that you are a champion of. And I would love to talk a little bit about those, both literally what are they, but also in the mindset of experiential learning and kind of broadening out to our general philosophy about how we learn here at Bentley.
Sure. Thanks, Emma. This is, my swim lane, so thank you. We have a number of ways in which students can take the learning outside of our US perspective and integrate into the world or bring the world in. And there's a number of ways that happens, but specifically the global business experiences are one format is a 3-credit travel course. So for instance, I teach one to Scotland, decision making for sustainable organizations. There is content around decision making and sustainability, but it is layered with an understanding of cultures, how we interact with different cultures, what's effectiveness in that space, how we work in and with others. And then we travel for 8 days to Scotland. We visit different companies, we do cultural events, we do social events, and students work with project partners in country on issues that they are facing. So one of the ways that you can do that is through these 3-credit travel courses, but there's a couple of other ways as well. One, we have travel-based internships where you can go on your own with an organization that brings students from around the world together into a location. So a couple of summers ago, I advised a student who worked with an NGO in Madrid in Spain as an impact consultant. And she partnered with a graduate student from UC San Diego, and they built a strategic plan for gender equality that offered training throughout that NGO. Another way that we bring the global perspective is by bringing people into the classroom. And I have a number of examples of how that happens, of bringing voices from other parts of the world or people who have experience in that into the classroom to interact with students and to share that learning with them.
Super. I think what both Wanma and Iris are talking about are really meaningful classroom experiences. And we could actually spend the rest of our time and perhaps the rest of the day talking about meaningful classroom experiences. But I am going to force us to talk a little bit about outside of the classroom and the broader Bentley community. Because Wanma, you brought up a great point that a lot of an MBA is about how you learn from others and how you connect with your broader Bentley community. And so I would love for you to tell us a little bit about why you made that comment. So what did you learn from others in your community? And then Iris, I would love to talk a little bit with you about some of our centers and the other kind of offerings we have here on campus outside of your literal classroom experiences that might benefit your learning here. But Wanma, let's start by talking about the Bentley community.
Yeah, so as I mentioned when I was kind of talking about my background, I worked in higher ed kind of before I transitioned into financial services. But something that I found really interesting about the graduate experience is it's very similar to an undergrad in the way that you get as much as you put in. And one of the reasons I picked Bentley was because I worked full-time in person in the city of Boston. And I wanted to be able to commute to the campus and have classes, but I also wanted that ability that if I wouldn't be able to make it, I could hop on Zoom and take the class remotely with our hybrid learning opportunities. And they do a great job at that. I think it's one of their strongest suits. But I think there's a lot of learning that comes outside of that as well. So I know that when I try to, my remote day a week, I try to come to campus and just work from the library or work from the quad to meet my classmates, see them, but also learn about the stuff they were doing outside the classrooms and the stuff that they were doing at their own companies. A lot of Bentley MBAs are working full time as well, or part time at least. So you get a lot by hearing their experiences, but they also have a lot of offerings within the career services. So another main reason I like Bentley was because of their career services offering. I worked really closely with Audra Bonney. She works in the career services office. She's great. Throughout my experience at Bentley, and they host a lot of activities that when I had the opportunity to go, I was able to meet recruiters, hear about job opportunities, but also about building myself professionally. And those were kind of the main events I would go to build outside of the classroom. And I would suggest that even though those are hybrid opportunities as well for the most part, if you can make it in person for all of these events, it's a great opportunity for everyone.
Awesome. Well, we're going to talk more about your job search in about 35 seconds. But before, well, that's saying Iris is going to talk very fast. But Iris, I would love to talk a little bit. Wanma's bringing up these other opportunities on campus, and we have extraordinary centers here that allow you as an individual to come and hear about business in a lot of different contexts, lots of talks and case competitions and opportunities to dig in from different angles. And I'm curious if Iris, you think there's anything interesting for folks on the line to hear about how those centers could intersect with their MBA.
Absolutely. We do have a number of centers that students have access to individually, but also that a lot of faculty incorporate into their coursework specifically. And so the centers run their own programs, but then they also support the coursework within the MBA. And so some of those centers, for instance, the trading room, a number of the finance courses will use the trading room, but you can also get Bloomberg certified on your own in the trading room, and it's free. It's part of your tuition. We have the Sandbox, the CIS Sandbox, which does a lot of really cool things, particularly around VR now. I am using it in my course to simulate being in a foreign language situation and trying to negotiate a transaction, right? We have the Gloria Cortez Larson Center for Women in Business, which does really important research, but also provides opportunities for internship, for skills development, for women to really become their own in their own professional voice, which is really cool. The Center for Business and Health, which has been a very strong partner for us. We have over 90, I believe, faculty who are involved that are at this intersection of business and health sciences and health delivery. As I said before, we have the Michael Hoffman Center for Business Ethics, which does a lot of programming within the courses. And so those are incorporated into coursework, but are also available to students to use on their own.
Absolutely. And I think, Iris, you pointed out some really important things that students can do in association with our centers. You can get certified. So whether, as Iris said, that's Bloomberg certification, or we have certifications in things like Tableau or other data visualization tools. And there's a lot of the different centers offer case competitions, so you can practice that experience outside of the classroom. And as Iris was saying, it can help in your specialization also. You might be interested in studying marketing from an academic lens, but you want to intersect with the healthcare system, or you might be studying analytics in your MBA and you want to go and work at with our Center for Analytics and Data Science. And so I do think it's another way when I speak to students that students also meet other like-minded students. So from Wanma's perspective of learning from each other, I've heard a lot of students say, yeah, I go to the Center for Analytics and Data Science. They have a tea once a week, and I meet other students that are interested in analytics, and we talk about kind of the newest features of analytics or what have you.
And Emma, if I could just add one point, there's also lots of student organizations
Absolutely.
around specific interests that are either associated with the centers or use the centers, but also on their own that bring those like-minded individuals together.
Absolutely. So before we talk about the admissions process, Wanma, I'd love for you to take us to the end of your program, although actually this was probably earlier than your end because I know you worked closely with Audra, and help us understand your job search and how that was connected to the Bentley network. Did you leverage our alumni network? It sounds like you leveraged our career services, and give us a sense of how you determined where you wanted to land.
Yeah. So one of the coolest things that I found once I started was that you actually you have the opportunity to take a class within your MBA, which is with the career services officers. And they'll guide you through, here is how you can figure out what industry you want to be in, what type of role, here are some skills you should develop. Let's work on how to improve your resume, how to improve your interview skills, how to do your 30-second elevator pitch, all things that you'll need during the job search and beyond. And that was kind of the base of it. I realized that I was fortunate enough that I was able to take leave from my full-time job and was able to go into financial services industry for a summer to do an MBA internship. So that was the first time I leveraged the career services office. They helped me interview prep. They helped me look for job opportunities that I enjoyed. And once I did have an offer, I was able to go to them and negotiate here is how you should negotiate this offer. Here's what you should get. And then also talk about how I can leverage that internship and get the most out of it so that when I am looking for a full-time job in a few months after, I can use everyone I've met at that internship for that. And then for my full-time job search, one of the main things that I did was network. That was one of the main things that the career services office was pushing, was find someone in X and Y industry that interests you, ask for 30 minutes of their time. And I found a lot of Bentley alums that were willing to give me some of their time. And once I met with them, they were able to connect me with someone else. Sometimes it was a Bentley alum, sometimes it wasn't, but you use them as a stepping stone to get where you need to go, because that's what all of the alumni are here for. We're here to support each other and help each other kind of throughout the journey. So that was really kind of my base point, which led me to find the job opportunity that I am in right now. I did the interview process, and once I had an offer, I was able to take it to Audra and be like, is this a good offer? Should I take it? Should I negotiate? What should I do? But thankfully, all the conversations we had throughout the 2 years I was working with Audra had prepared me for those moments of, I need to do this in this very second. So I really enjoyed the career services office. I know that they're renowned and get all these awards, and you see them on LinkedIn winning everything. So I would definitely say the career services office is one of the offices. If you only engage one or two offices, have one of them be the career services office during your time at Bentley.
You know, Wama, it's such a good point, and our career services group is really focused, particularly with MBAs, but across all of our programs, on ensuring that you hit the ground running when you're here. No matter how long your time to degree is, you're not here for very long, right? Whether you're in a 1-year full-time master's or you're in the MBA and you're taking 2, 3, or depending on whether you're doing it full-time or part-time years. You still aren't here for all that long, and we want to make sure that you're leveraging every moment really thoughtfully from a career search perspective. As Iris shared, an MBA is giving you the fundamental understanding of how businesses run, and most people are doing that because they want to either pivot their career like Wanma did, or accelerate their career within their organization, and we want to support you in doing that. And all of the things Wanma talked about are actually, I would say, gold star career services activities, which is, starting early, starting those conversations, figuring out what you're interested in. Many of our students start with a kind of diagnostic tool called Career Leader, an assessment that lets you understand what you might be interested in, helps you kind of figure out what you value in work. And that can help you then go and do exactly what WAMA did, which is network. Bentley's alums, I know a lot of schools say like, oh, alums jump out and they're willing to help. I'm like shocked by it every time. Even, even in the projects that I'm doing, Bentley alums always are willing to give their time to Bentley and to students to help support. And I think WAMA's experience is actually very typical, meaning that alums will come out and share what they do and how they can be supportive because they realize that they received that when they were here. And I think there's a lot of connection and support of the broader Bentley community. I think Wama's story is also somewhat typical in that I would say our students go into all industries, but if you look for kind of buckets of influence in Bentley, you see kind of financial services, health services and life science, and kind of technology rising to the top of those types of organizations where we have large groups of alums that are there to help support, but certainly see folks go into a number of different industries as well. All right. I know we've had a a wonderful conversation here. I would love to transition to talking a little bit about how to apply. I'm guessing there's some folks on the line that are excited to do so after hearing Iris and Wanma. And so, Sean, I'm wondering if you could walk us through the application process.
Yes, absolutely, Emma, and thank you for that warm transition. So I know we've talked a lot about, of course, a lot of great facts about the MBA program. So happy to shed, of course, some light on the application requirements we have for the MBA program. So first up, we would, of course, request an up-to-date resume from you, and if possible, we definitely prefer if you put, of course, your most current, professional and work experience towards the top, along with your education as well. We'd also, of course, request your LinkedIn profile as well, if you wouldn't mind supplying it. Your LinkedIn profile is super crucial for your professional development, and of course, super crucial for your development even, after your time at graduate school. So definitely interested in making sure that you strengthen that and bolster it, for those great opportunities after graduate school as well. Going from there, we do request one recommendation letter. Please know that we do accept professional and academic recommenders for this process. We would prefer professional recommenders if you do have them, current coworkers, current managers, prior coworkers, prior managers. But if you don't have too many of those, never fear. As I mentioned, we do accept academic recommenders as well. So past educators, professors, all that great stuff. Going from there, we do require one application essay, and you will find different essay prompts within the application itself. To the best of my knowledge, I believe there should be 3 different questions to choose from, so I would recommend picking whichever question you feel you can answer the best. We are looking for between 300 to 500 words, and you will, of course, see that information in the application as well. We also do have an optional personal statement, statement of purpose. If you do have some time, I would always recommend, of course, filling that out. Myself as well as my team, we love reading about you, of course, seeing where you're coming from, and a little bit about your motivations for pursuing graduate studies at this time. Going from there, we are fully test optional for the GMAT and the GRE, so please know if you do not submit GMAT or GRE test scores, you will not be negatively impacted in any way, shape, or form. These test scores can be used to, of course, boost you up, strengthen your profile, giving you a higher chance of being admitted, and also a higher chance of receiving a higher scholarship as well. But as I previously mentioned, please know you won't be negatively impacted in any way, shape, or form without those test scores. Going from there, for more of our international applicants, we do require an English language proficiency test. We do accept the TOEFL test, the IELTS test, as well as the Duolingo test. But please know there's a few ways to get around this test with a waiver. If you are coming from a predominantly English-speaking country, or if your undergraduate degree was fully taught in English, you can of course notify us about that within your application to request that English proficiency waiver. Going from there, we will of course request all official transcripts from every university you have attended, of course from your undergrad, as well as of course your graduate degree if you already do have a master's degree, and for our international students as well. If you are graduating from a university outside the United States, please know that we would request an international transcript evaluation from any NACES approved member. The most common NACES approved member evaluations we see in our office, I would say, are WES, World Education Services, ECE, Educational Credential Evaluators, and finally TEC, which is the evaluation company, formerly known as Spantran. And also for our full-time MBA candidates and our full-time STEM MBA candidates, we do require a short interview process. This could be around 30 to 40 minutes, but it's a chance for you to, of course, meet with our admission staff in a one-on-one setting. It's a chance, of course, to get to know you in a better way. Talking about, of course, your work experience, your undergraduate experience, and all that great stuff. Yes, of course. So, of course, going for a graduate degree is not only a huge personal undertaking, but also a huge financial undertaking as well. So, I'd let you all know that we do offer, merit-based scholarships that are merit-based and not need-based. So, they are based on the full strength of your application. So, all those requirements that we just talked about on the previous slide, from your resume, transcripts, application essay, recommendation letters, GMAT and GRE test scores. This is where all the scholarship is derived from. And about 85% of our students do receive a type of merit aid, but I would absolutely recommend applying during one of our, earlier, priority rounds to maximize your chances of receiving a higher merit aid scholarship. And yes, absolutely, our application deadlines. So we did just recently pass by our priority round 1 for the spring 2026 term, but happy to let you all know that we do still have our standard deadline for the spring 2026 term available, which is December 11th, 2025. So if you're still trying to make it for the spring, please know you do have some time, but please know that date is going to catch up super, super quickly. But also going from spring, we do have all of our priority rounds still available for the fall of 2026. So our round 1 deadline is November 1st. Our round 2 deadline is December 14th. Our regular decision deadline, February 1st of 2026. The absolutely last day you should apply if you are an F1 visa seeker as an international student should be June 1st of 2026. And the last day you can apply as a domestic and service transfer student is August 1st of 2026.
Thanks, Sean. So that's lots of application information, which is great. I see there's some questions coming in through the Q&A. So I want just to take some of those before we kind of think about how we want to leave you all. One question, Sean, that I'm seeing here is specific to international graduate students and whether there are any funding opportunities specific to them that might be beneficial. And so I would love, if you don't mind talking a little bit about some of our kind of international loan, the folks that we might receive that from, as well as things like grad assistantships. If you could give some clarity there, that would be great.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll start with the assistantships and talk about, our foreign international loan partners as well. So our graduate assistantships are a branch of our merit aid scholarships. And please know if you are looking to apply for an assistantship as well as the merit aid, it's very easy to apply for. It's just a yes or no question within the application. So as long as you do click yes for, of course, the merit aid and the assistantship question, you will be in consideration for both of those scholarship opportunities. Please note that we only have assistantships available for the fall because students have them for the full academic year. So students who do have assistantships, they have them from the fall through the spring. So if you're hoping to, of course, applying for their assistantship, please know that you must apply for a fall term. And how these assistantships work, it's more or less, kind of a role on campus, a job on campus, so to speak. You would be able, of course, to be paid within a stipend. So of course, you could use that stipend as, the form of tuition remission, helping your living expenses, entertainment, of course, food, all that great stuff. So you're welcome to use that stipend however you so please. Going from there, we do partner with a few other international student loan companies. I believe we partner with Empower, Prodigy, as well as I know there's a third one. I can't remember it right now. But I do know we have Empower and Prodigy as well. So we do partner with both of those international student loan companies. We should have a link, I believe, allow me, I can certainly put a link in our chat, to our tuition and aid page. And there should be another link as well to our international student loan providers as well.
Absolutely. So I think, Sean, something I'll say as connected to this, and you're going to say, Emma, you're not answering the question, which I'm not, but it's actually more important, is that we are here at Bentley to support you as individuals. Wanma got on the Zoom this morning and was like, Sean, I remember you from my interview. And, Sean or Wanma was talking about Audra in the grad career office. We have a robust community where you get lots of connections with lots of people. We also are really focused on you as an individual. And so with things like, if you have questions, an international funding question is a great question. If you want to talk about your individual challenges, I'm going to give you some information about how to connect with us at the end of this conversation. We want to get to know you as an individual and talk through your individual opportunities. And so, Sean, you gave us two great international loan providers, and I know that you and Janie, who support our MBA team, we want to talk to each individual student to help them navigate how they can, whether it's fund their education, pick whether they want to go full-time or part-time, help them think through what track or concentration major they might want to begin thinking that they're going to be a part of. We are here to support in all those ways.
Absolutely, Emma, absolutely. And if I could just add a little onto that as well, I'm just putting this in our the main chat box. So please, if you do have, of course, any specific, situations you'd like to talk through, or want more, personal advice on, of course, on your, personal journey, so to speak, I would absolutely recommend reaching out to us, at our main email inbox, which is applygrad@bentley.edu. Feel free, of course, to shoot us an email there. We have people looking at the inbox each and every day. We try to respond to students, within 24 to 48 hours. But of course, if you're looking to get in contact with any of our admission staff, for a short phone call or a Zoom call, definitely recommend shooting us an email there, and we're happy to, of course, work with you to set up an appointment with you.
Wonderful. Iris, we have a question in the chat about taking the program fully remote. So for folks that aren't able to come to campus, but want to be a part of the Bentley community and take our coursework, they're curious about what is that experience like? And so I would love for you to speak a little bit about that. And then they have some questions about payment and things, and I'm happy to answer that after your answer.
Sure. So as Wanma pointed out, you can take all graduate courses in a hybrid format. So that means class by class, you decide whether you're going to be in the classroom or on Zoom. And you can do that throughout your graduate program. We also have the leadership concentration is fully in an accelerated online format. So those courses are 6 weeks long. They are full 3-credit courses, so they are accelerated. It's compacted, but it's intense, but you can get it done shorter and entirely online. So you can do that. You don't ever have to come to campus. And even if you do that, there are still opportunities to interact with students face-to-face by taking one of the travel courses. I often have students in my travel course that have never stepped on campus and never seen another Bentley student face-to-face, but they take the travel course, and that gives them an opportunity to interact in person. So we try to, and even with the accelerated online courses that are completely asynchronous, there are optional synchronous classes so that you can interact with students and your professor. So we try to the extent possible, but we make it very flexible for you.
Absolutely. And the question also asks, can you take a few classes a semester? Meaning, can you truly take this program part-time? And the answer is yes. When you decide to do our program part-time, you get to decide within the scope of 5 years, you have 5 years to complete your degree. Do I want to take one class this semester, 2 classes next semester? Ooh, my job is really quiet in the spring. I'm going to take, a fuller load. And so we absolutely support you with the help of our academic advisors to navigate the kind of part-time course load. And this individual asked, do students pay per class or per semester? The answer in the MBA currently is per class. And so if you only take one class a semester, you're only paying for that. I know some students choose when they have things like tuition remission, meaning that their employer is willing to invest in their education. They might modulate how many classes they're taking in order to maximize that tuition remission.
And Emma, you can also take courses in the summer. Those are 10-week courses in the summer. The travel courses are in January, March break, and May. So they are outside of the traditional semester. So there's ways to sneak in extra courses.
Absolutely. Great. Well, I want to end with two important questions for our panelists. So, Wanma, I'm going to start with you. And I would love for you to put yourself back in the seat of the folks on the line who are considering Bentley's MBA. And I'd love for you to share any advice you have for them in potentially maximizing a Bentley experience.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I would go back to my comment earlier about being similar to what you put in. So put as much as you can into the program and it'll give that and even more back to you. Meet as many people as you can, stop your classmates, ask them, meet your professors. Our professors are so approachable. They're so excited to teach and to be with you all. Since I graduated in May. I've had 4 professors reach out to me and see how I'm doing, how my job has been going, and just checking in. So really do leverage the people on campus. They're there for you. They're there and they're really excited to be helping you. So definitely get as involved as you can. And I know that as a full-time working professional and a full-time student, that wasn't always the easiest thing, but whatever I could make it to, it was super rewarding and it has definitely paid off.
Wonderful. And Iris, I think one of the features of Bentley is that our students are all unique and they're diverse. And I'm curious, a lot of folks on the line, or, when Sean and I get the chance to talk to candidates, they'll ask, what makes someone successful at Bentley? What do you need to be a successful MBA student? And I'm curious if you have any kind of recommendation for how they think about that.
This may not be the answer that you expect, but I think it's going to link to what Wanma said, and that is bring your whole self to this. Don't bring your professional persona. There's that, we get it. We all have one, but bring your whole self. Because if I come back to my original comments about why an MBA and why Bentley, I have 4 degrees. And my MBA is not my last one, but it is the one that I use every day. And I pivoted in my career as Wanma did. I used to be an accountant. That's pretty scary. Now full-blown academic. But that MBA helps me every single day in my career, in the projects that I lead, in the teams that I am on, in my thinking about how to manage my entire career, bandwidth and all of that. And so what you get out of an MBA is what you put in, both professionally, your career is accelerated, you can take on leadership roles, you can grow into new projects that you didn't think you had the capability of managing, you can transition industries, and we'll give you the connections and the networking opportunities that you can really harvest in the future, as Wanma said. But we also give you the personal growth, that enhanced confidence, that improved communication, a deeper sense of purpose. And that transformative impact is going to shape how you think, how you lead, and how you live, right? And at Bentley, we don't just teach you business. We teach you how to think, how to listen, how to lead in a world that really requires and demands a lot of nuance, right? So come prepared to challenge your assumptions, to really engage deeply and grow holistically. Because we're not just going to give you a credential. We're going to commit to your development intellectually, ethically, and to really grow as a balanced leader. So bring your whole self to the game.
In fact, Iris, I would not expect any answer other than that from you, because it is so true about who we are here at Bentley and how our students engage and learn. I'm going to leave you all with just a couple of ways to stay in touch with us. As I said, Sean, myself, Iris, want to get to know you as individuals. And so here's a number of ways for you to continue to engage. The second QR code here on the screen is the way to set up a consultation. What that means is really just a one-on-one meeting with someone on our admissions team to talk about your individual questions and curiosities. I really hope you'll take advantage of that. On the right, you see a number of ways to continue learning about Bentley. I want to really urge you to spend some time on our YouTube page. We have a number of different ways that you can learn more about our MBA there. So some examples, we just recently had a great session on your career search that featured Audra, who Wanma's talked about, and some of our current students, and Faith Beatty, our Director of Graduate Career Services, that talks a lot about how do we make sure you're really prepared for your career search. Iris taught a sample class that was fantastic, that is up on YouTube, that you can experience just to see how we think here at Bentley in some of our courses. We had another course, a sample course taught by Andy Aylesworth about unlocking creativity for innovation, that I think would be another interesting thing for this group to watch. So I hope you'll spend some time on YouTube really digging into our program. You also can follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram in order to see what our community is up to. The other thing you could do, all the way on the left, is joining an executive and professional education course. This is only available to folks who are local, because these are in-person experiences, but they give you a taste of what learning at Bentley looks like. They're a short-form credential course, and we have a couple that are very much connected to our MBA. And if there's any interest in the room in that, I hope you'll reach out to me or Sean, and we can help direct you towards accessing those opportunities. And so with that, I thank you all so very much for joining us. I hope that you'll continue learning about the MBA. I hope you'll introduce yourself as an individual to us through one-on-one meetings or emails. And I thank Wanma and Iris for their amazing contributions today. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.